Happy New Year. I hope everyone has had a lovely Christmas and New Year and had a good break. I know some of you have been working, but hopefully you've found some little moments of time within the last few weeks just to make some memories, relax a little bit, and just do different things and enjoy that break from routine. So today, this session is all about goal setting, okay? Because I just wanted to give you a little bit of an exercise, and I think this is a really interesting take on goal setting that will just give you some structure, I guess, to ask yourself a series of questions to try and get really focused and really motivated, because that can be quite hard to do at this time. But hopefully get you really focused and really motivated on what you want for this year, okay? Now, there's two parts to this video. One part, which I'm going to do now, is taking you through an exercise that ideally you'll have an hour maybe to do it yourself, and a little bit of peace, a notebook, some paper, or your laptop if you prefer to just sort of type straight into it. And I'm going to give you a series of questions that I want you to answer. Okay. And for clients only, there's a second video where I'm going to tell you what my answers have been, because this is the exact same process that I've done for myself, and I'm going to share with you my answers. I'm doing that for two reasons. One, because, well, why not? If you're going to share your sort of deepest, most personal, most important goals with me, then I'm very happy to share my deepest, most personal goals and fears with you. Okay, so there'll be a second video that you can listen to for that as well. And what also that might do, it might just give you some ideas of how to answer the questions. But what is really important about this is this exercise is about you knowing your own mind. Okay, so it's fine to listen to mine, but the idea is that you're not influenced by me, or looking or thinking, oh, that's a good idea if it's not a true goal for you. Because one of the problems I think that we have with goals as women, as busy women with lots of plate spinning, is we don't really take time to think about what we want. And we're also very sort of programmed to be more bothered about what other people want. We're always doing things for other people. We're always trying to anticipate what other people want. I don't know about you, but I can tell if my daughter or Tim's in a funny mood, because I've just almost developed this sixth sense from them, and you pick up on the most tiny things and you're trying to see if they're all right and what you can do to help them. But you don't do that for yourself. So we're trying to apply that idea that we really get to know ourselves and our minds really intimately, and we get really clear about what we want, because that's important. Because if we don't, it's in there somewhere. And it just creates a little bit of conflict, because there's something we're after, something we want to do, but quite often we're not brave enough to actually do those things because we're worried about it, or we're worried about how it might impact some people. So that's what this session's about. It's how to really get honest and clear about what you want to do, and to flush out some of the worries and the things that are holding you back, so that you can have a better perspective on it. And hopefully it gives you a sort of a sense of bravery to actually go for what you want, and let yourself realize that it's okay, that we can go after things that we want, and it doesn't mean we're selfish. We're important. We deserve to live lives that we enjoy and that are fulfilling to us. And that's what this process is designed to do. Now, you might think, what's this got to do with diet and exercise? Well, I actually think it's got everything to do with it, because quite often we might come into a program like this thinking, oh, I want to lose weight, or my clothes are too tight, or we think of a fairly superficial reason. But truly, there's usually something bigger that sort of sits behind that occasionally, and there's nothing wrong. This is where it's important to be honest and own your own goal, because if your goal is just to lose, to be a different dress size, that's perfectly okay. But quite often there's a little bit more. And if you think that's your goal, but you're struggling to do the work that gets you to that goal, then that's often a sign that there's something else behind that you've not figured out. Okay, so it can be really helpful with getting you really motivated and really clear about the changes that you have to make and why they are so important. And quite often, as you'll see when you listen to mine, the things that we want for ourselves usually mean that we have to be really strong, really healthy, really fit, really confident, really powerful, really capable women to do all these things. And how do we do that? We do it by looking after ourselves at the end of the day. That's how we become those sorts of women. And so that's why it has everything to do with diet and exercise, but you do have to be really honest. Okay. So how I recommend that you do this exercise on this video is I'm going to take you through a series of these questions. So I'll introduce you to each question, and maybe then, you just pause the video, spend a little bit of time writing your answer, and then press play again and go on to the next question and work your way through. And then when you've got to the end of those, feel free to share anything with me in advance of our New Year one-to-ones. If you want to keep it to yourself, that's perfectly fine. But it can be really useful to really own those goals and be proud of them. And we can develop them and refine them together, and we can work past, we can work on moving past all the barriers that hold you back from achieving those goals in 2025. Okay, so I will crack on. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so I hope you can see that. Right. So what do you really want for yourself? So this is about January goal setting, and these are the questions that we have here. So the first one, so you just need to put me on pause if you need to get yourself a piece of paper or something to write on, a pen, etc. But the first question that you're going to ask is, what do I really want for myself? Now that's a very big open-ended question, and it's designed to be, because this is about you thinking about this year, your future, your life, what really is important to you as you. Okay, so you're just going to spend a little bit of time really thinking about what you want for yourself. Okay, so you can pause me now while you write, and then start again in a minute when you feel that you've answered that question. But no rush, just take your time. So when you answered that question, the next one is, what doubts or fears come up when you think about that goal or that want? Okay. I'm going to say that again. What doubts or fears come up when you think about that goal? So if you go back and have a look at that goal now, and just maybe read it through and have a look at the words on the page that you've written, and then just stop for a minute. Turn me off, pause me, and just notice what little things come up in your brain. Okay. And start to write a list of those things. And then your next question is, when you've written that list of worries or doubts, fears, you're going to ask yourself, what worries do I have that are about things that I should do, or maybe what other people will think? Okay. So when we think about goals and what's important to us, or what we should be doing, there's two ways of looking at this. There's internal pressures and there's external ones. Now, internal ones might be, I'm frightened, I'm not very confident, I'm not sure I can do it, I'm not sure I've got the energy to do something so hard. They might be things that you feel yourself that are coming from within. But quite often they're connected to things that come from outside. I haven't got the energy to do this when I've got to do all these things for other people. Or you might be thinking, I don't have time because I'm too busy. Or I should be just growing up gracefully at 53. Or, I should be looking after my parents more, or my kids more, or working harder, or whatever. But where's the external pressure coming from? The things that you think you should be doing that are squeezing you out of your own life. Okay, so pause me again and just write a list of those things. So the next one is, if you could think about All those, go back and have a look at that list. Have a look at all the doubts and fears that you've written. Sorry, I've always got allergies. Have a look at your list of doubts, fears, all the things that you think you should be in terms of things that are going to please other people or make other people's lives easier. Have a look at that list and imagine that we could just magic all those away, okay? And that not only that all those things were gone, and your goal was what you wrote at the beginning, and that it was easy to do that, to achieve that goal. Does that change what your goal would be? Or does that change what you would do? So it's a chance for you to revisit your goal, having stripped away all the fake things or the false things that are distracting you and all the other pressures from all the other areas of your life, and any worries about it being hard, etc., or you're not able to do these things. Revisit your goal and have a look at it again and make any changes to it that come up as a result of that. Okay? And when you've done that, you should have a clearer, truer, and more honest idea of what your goal actually is. And that might be a short-term goal or a long-term goal. Doesn't matter. Now, the thing that I'm just going to say here is, again, be honest. This is about you. And I want you to also think when you, or notice when you're looking at this goal, if you feel any pressure from any wrong source, as in, oh, people think I'm boring, will people judge me for wanting to look like this if it was changing your body shape, or people think I'm too old to climb a mountain, you know, whatever it is. Just keep noticing if these things come up, these little noises, these little voice in your head sort of putting the brakes on some way, okay? Because you really just want to pay attention to those. And it might be that, you know, you might not come up with your exact goal or a goal that you feel really happy with in this session. But how your brain works is by asking these questions of it, it will start to find the answers for you. I used to work in advertising agencies. That was sort of a huge part of my career. And that was a way that we often worked. If we were trying to come up with a concept or a new idea, and we had a brief and we couldn't quite work out what the answer was, you use a technique where you ask your brain to find the answer, and then you go and do something else and forget about it. And your brain starts to whir around in the background because it wants to solve things, it wants solutions. So even today, if you feel like you're not getting anywhere with answering this question and finding an answer that you feel is right, because when it's the right answer and it's the right goal, you'll feel it, you'll be able to tell, then your brain will work away in the background to try and come up with something. So maybe, you know, if you notice thoughts coming to you, you can jot them down again as they come up. But for the sake of this exercise now and how this video can work, and you could go away now, you could just sort of stop here, have a think and come back to the rest of this, or you can carry on if you feel that you've got something that you can work with. So our next question is going to be, what changes, sacrifices, or compromises will achieving this goal require? And I want you to write a list. Okay, so write a list of all the things that you think you're going to have to change in your life or give up or compromise on, as many as you can possibly think of. Okay, so again, pause me. Now, so you've got your list, and I'm going to give you the next question. What comes up for you? What comes up for me when I look at that list? So let's imagine that you have to stop eating something, or you have to work out 3 times a week, or whatever it is. Have a look at all those things, or compromises. Have a look at that list. Have a look at each of those things and what comes up for you when you look at that list. You might worry about time. You might worry about being guilty about spending time away from your family. You might worry about how tired you are. You might worry if not eating chips with your meal when you go out with people will make you look boring, and your friends will think you're a bore, or not drinking as much. You know, have a look at that list, because that's really important, because we have to get quite granular and see what's stopping you from making those changes. Because it's no good when you and I have our conversations for me just to sit there with you and say, okay, you need to do this, 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 and this, and give you a list of instructions. We have to know what barriers we have to doing those things. We all tend to know what we need to do and what we have to do. But what we don't spend any time on is actually trying to work out why it's so hard. And this is what this part of the exercise is helping you to do, to realize what's making that hard for you. So you can pause me again and have a think. And then when you're ready, the next question, tough one now. Because I want you to ask yourself, where will I end up if I don't make that changes? What are the consequences to you not doing these things? That's a really big question. And it's not an easy one to answer. So again, you're going to pause if you need to, because you're going to have a really good think about what will happen, where you'll end up if you don't make the changes that you've just written down. Okay. And then when you've got that clarity on what will happen to you, if you don't make those changes and make those changes now, how does that make you feel? If you don't do these things, if you don't see it through, if you don't commit, if you just stay the same or just do a half-hearted version of going for your goal, how will that make you feel? If you don't just dive into do this and give it your absolute best shot, how does that make you feel? So the next step, the next question now, is having reflected on all this, you've got your goal, you've got a list or clarity of the changes, compromises, and sacrifices. Are you clear about what all of those things are? And are you at a point where you can fully commit to making those changes? And when we talk about commitment, it's not about wanting, it's about being ready to take action. It's about actually ready to put your money where your mouth is and do those things. And that's important. So I want you to take some time again to read over everything that you've written so far. Have a look at your goal. Have a look at the changes, the compromises and sacrifices that you need to take. Have a look at the consequences of not doing it. And see if you can get to a place where you feel that you can commit to making those changes. And very specifically, committing means being able to take action. So again, pause me, have a think, read that over. And then the last question, when you're ready to move on, is to think about what help or support you need to do those things. Now, a lot of it may come from you being more organized or more, I don't know, having an hour at the weekend. There may be practical things that you can write that will help you achieve those things. So that's when we do the meal planning at weekends. That's a practical example. So you may have a list of things that you can do yourself. And if you have, that's great. The more, the better. But you might need some help or support to have the space in your life to do those things. Or you might need to share a few things at home or at work that are going to free up some space for you. So have a think about what help or support you need to do those things. And that can include help or support that you need from me and how we structure the program and the support over the coming weeks. Because quite often, we as women, we just take on more than our fair share. We can feel very pressured at work to do more than our fair share and to be going the extra mile. We can be quite bad at setting boundaries. So it's important to have an open and honest look. You know, you may have committed, so hopefully you've got to a point where you feel like you commit, but then we have to get practical and we have to look at what you have to do to make it happen. So it's fine to say, I'm ready to take action, but what is that action? And if there are any other things in our lives that are stopping us from taking that action, we need to work out what they are now and how we get support or help to change those things so that we can do the things that we need to do. Okay. And that can feel like a lot. And one of the things that I just want to say to finish off here is to acknowledge, you know, I know you all really well now, and I know that we can't just sort of not go to work or not run our kids somewhere or not go and look after our parents. You know, we still have to do those things. And it's not either or. It's not either do all those things for other people or spend time on ourselves. All we actually need to do is get a little bit of space to do the things for us. That's it. Because that can be the problem. A lot of us will always say, oh, I've got an all or nothing mindset. You feel that you have to either be all in or all out. And that's never going to work. Yeah, because we can't all just wave a magic wand and have all of our to-do list outsourced. It's not going to happen. So we have to look at the little tactical ways that we can get a little bit of space in our lives and in our schedules so we can do the things that we want to do. And this is where bravery comes in, because I did say at the beginning, I'm just reading it again, menopause brain. I did say the minute is it's are we brave enough to take action to be the person we want to be? And quite often we're not brave enough to say how we're feeling, to say when things are too much for us, and to ask for help. And if we go back to those goals that we've written down, that we've also explained how so important they are to us, and you know, a future if we don't make them that we really don't want to happen, we have to be brave now to get those small bits of support from people around us to just mean that we can do those little changes that are going to make a massive difference. Okay, so that's our January goal setting exercise, and I will send you a link for the second one where I tell you exactly what my answers have been to these. So hope this helps you, and I look forward to chatting with you soon. Okay, so that's the share, and I'll speak to you soon. All right, take care. Bye.